This is Conversations with Women in Sales, an award-winning podcast created by Barbara Giamanco, who hosted the first 67 episodes. Listen to interviews with amazing women about their journeys in their sales careers, often discussing sales leadership tips, ideas, and strategies. We aim to inspire women to consider a sales career and for some women to grow into sales leadership. Men, we appreciate your allyship. And now, your host, Lori Richardson.
Hey everyone, I'm here today with Rhasheeda Hughes, and Rhasheeda is Sales Development Manager at Power Reviews. So welcome, Rhasheeda. It's so great to meet you.
Hi, Lori. Thank you. And I'm super excited to be here and definitely have a wonderful conversation with you today. So thank you again for inviting me to your podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm always curious how people started their journey into sales. And I know for you, you were in school, you got your MBA, you had your bachelor's in PR and is it communications, I think?
Yes.
And what were you planning to do?
Okay. I went to school. I wanted to be a newscaster. I wanted to be on the news. I wanted to write in the newspaper and write magazine articles. So I was really super heavy into it. And that was just my dream from a little kid. And unfortunately, I graduated in 2008 with my bachelor's. And that was during the time of the recession.
Yeah.
And my dad came to me. PR is out of the picture. There's no jobs in that arena. So we got to go back to ground zero. And I'm like, no, I don't want to do anything but that. He's like, let's be real. Because I paid for school. Like, we got to get real. It's time for you to figure some things out. He said, I'm going to help you. And so he told me to get into sales. He was like, it's still PR in a way. You still get to talk. You still get to build relationships. And I think this will be great for you because my dad did sales a little bit on the side. My dad was a teacher. He sold cars on the side. He used to sell Corvettes. I remember as a little kid. He would bring Corvettes home. Yeah, so he told me sales could be lucrative and I definitely see where you can grow. And I remember sitting at the kitchen table like, that's the best you could do is sell? Like, I think you're right. Tell me like go be a lawyer or a doctor. Of that nature. And I sat at that table and I internally cried. I can't do sales. Like, I don't know anything about sales. I don't know. And so I applied for a role at a major bank selling loans and I knocked it out of the park. It was one of the most empowering jobs that I had because one, I was one of the youngest folks on the sales floor. Wow. I got with some of the top heavy hitters, went to President's Club for the 3 years I was there consistently. I remember receiving my first commission check, like super large commission check.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, I can do this. No problem. Where do I sign up? And what else do I need to do? And I worked for a really great team. It was a lot of hard work. It was not easy, but I love the rush that I got from it, that every day was not the same. And that I was selling a product that I believe in and building a really great relationship where my clients will call me and refer business to me. And just overall, it was definitely fulfilling. That's really where I fell in love with sales. And I remember having a conversation with my dad of like, I'm really glad you introduced sales to me. And he actually introduced me to a mentor as well. He introduced a mentor to me that kind of mentored me as well too for many years. And sales just turned into a love and it was a no-brainer. I could sell myself in anything, in interviews, and anything that I did day to day. It was it boosted my confidence a lot as well too. So I just fell in love with sales from the first day I started.
Oh, wow. Are those great skills to have? Because sometimes I feel even when the economy is tougher, I feel like I could be dropped into any city and I could sell my way out of town. I feel like we have those skills. Right?
Yeah.
That is empowering. It is empowering to know that I know how to sell. I'll always have a job. Even if I'm selling gadgets, widgets, or whatever, I can sell things.
1,000,000% agree. I definitely had a long sales journey, but it's been fulfilling. I don't regret my journey in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, you said something important though. You had a good team that you worked with. And I know not everyone gets off to the right start, especially in tech, especially for women. Sometimes you don't necessarily get a supportive environment that you're working in. And that makes it, I have the same. I It was my second job where I ran into the fact that they had never hired a woman for field sales. But my first job, nobody cared. Everybody was young. We had a great time. There was tons of money to go around. It was a really fun way to get into it. So I know that it depends on how you launch, how your first jobs go, don't you think?
1,000,000% agree. This team that I work with, they were a winning team. So it was like, if you're on this team, you have to win. You can't just hit go. You have to exceed go. It was to the point where my boss and VP would put the people's commission checks on the board. Or this is how much this person, you're going to beat this person. And it was all competitive fun.
Yeah.
But what I enjoyed about this role is I had a mentor in the job and she took me literally up under her wing. She taught me everything, how to be successful. So I didn't really have a hard learning curve. It was like learn how to duplicate her money making activities, but put my spliff on it as well too,
Yeah.
my spin on it. And
Yeah.
that's what made it great. Where she taught me foundation. And then from there, she's okay, I'm teaching the foundation of how to get a deal, how to build that relationship, but also bringing your energy into it as well, too. And it was like a cake. It was like she gave me the mixing powder and it was like, okay, the rest is up to me to make it work and just read their instructions. They were even if you didn't get a deal, someone was willing to jump on the phone and try to get the deal for you. So it was, we worked in cubicles back then. So I'm like
Yeah.
telling my,
I remember.
it was, we were a true family.
Yeah.
It was just a lot of fun. We would buy each other lunch, potluck. We knew each other, kids, grandkids, whatever it may be. It was a true money making team. I remember that we empower each other. And I think that's so important when you're building teams. It's like everybody had something to bring to the table. Like I was the youngest person, so I knew like the cool slang. And they're like, what's that new word? Or
That's great.
so it was a collaborative team where we worked together, but we also knew too, we had to bring some heavy numbers and we were all willing to put our hat on to do that.
That's great. Yeah, I remember listening over into somebody else's cube when they were on a conversation and they'd be really frustrated and they ended and be so funny how they and everybody'd laugh and that's some of the things, get now working remotely. But there were some very fun times in that kind of cube environment for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's right. Now, how did you move into tech sales? Because at some point you moved.
Yes, I did. So my uncle was a C plus computer engineer at IBM. And I started off my college career as I wanted to be a computer engineer just like him. But I learned very early that was not the life I wanted. So I pivoted to communication and PR. But I always knew in my heart I wanted to be in tech and how could I be impactful in tech? And so I signed up for this program that no longer is around. And I learned about tech overall. And they talked about tech in sales. It was new back then. And I said, oh, wow, you can sell technology? Like, I don't need to get a C plus or be an engineer. And I was like, this is a freaking no brainer. So I signed up for the class. It was a whole course for 6 months. They taught me how to sell Microsoft Azure and AWS and on cloud prem.
Wow.
And from there, it just took off. And I just was like, okay, I always knew technology was the new wave, but I had that sales background. So just colliding them together, it was like, okay, this is fulfilling. This is the space that I truly want to be in.
That's great. And it's done well for you. You're in leadership. And at some point, we were talking a little bit ahead of time, and you said, no one's ever tapped you on the shoulder. No one ever tapped me on the shoulder either. And you really have to speak up for things that you want in your career. And it's what men seem to do really well is that they'll go up to their boss after their second or third day and they'll say, Rhasheeda, I want your job someday. Tell me what I need to do. And for some reason, women seem uncomfortable doing that. I've learned a lot over time, but I know I was the very same way. I didn't negotiate my pay. I didn't know I could. I was very passive. I didn't know a lot of things, but we're here to educate people. So don't wait for people to tap you on the shoulder.
That is 1,000,000% true. When I look back at when I got into leadership, I saw my boss. I was like, gosh, like she is changing people's lives. She's phenomenal. She's really caring. I saw her moving people up. And I literally told her one day, I sat in her office, I said, I'm gunning for your role. And she just cracked up and laughed. And she was okay. And then I said, no, I'm dead serious. Like, I want to be in your shoes. And I literally told her, I said, can you teach me everything you know? Because I really want to take this next step. But prior to that, I learned from the men. I watched the men go in and ask her and say it, and then they got it. And I was just like, I know we get intimidated when he did it, so I can't do it. No, I felt like in my career, I always play like the men played. So I said, okay, that's the gameplay we're playing. I'm going to play it too. But see, I'm a woman, so I'm going to have a little one up on them. But I learned that very quickly working in the tech and sales, because a lot of the roles I were in were male dominated. So I had to do what they were doing, talk about what they wanted to talk about. I learned about sports. I learned about golf, and I know how to do golf, but it's because I work with all men. So I had to do what I had to do to be successful, but also still be a dainty woman and still have a good time. So I remember asking Sarah and saying, I want to be a manager just like you, because I admire her, and I admire her still to this day. And she literally took me up under her wing. Like she was a boss. Like when she came into the room, she demanded respect. She knew what she was talking about. She was a good subject matter expert. She could pinpoint where your problems are at, where you needed to improve. And I literally learned her blueprints, pardon me. And I remember, okay, I'm ready to go. Okay, the role is open. Let's go. And I went and interviewed, and I missed getting the role by maybe 5 points.
Oh, wow.
And I was just like, oh my goodness. But I wasn't even defeated because I was just so determined. I'm going to be in leadership. Okay, so let me turn this up a notch. This is not good enough. I'm on cruise control. Okay, never mind. I'm going 1,000 miles now.
Yes.
So I remember getting all the feedback from the panel and then tell me what to do. I worked even harder from the feedback. I said, okay, I need to prove myself more. There were some things that I needed to fine tune. I was okay with that. So let me pause. A lot of people that I talk to and mentor, they're like, I got the feedback and I don't want to do it anymore, and I'm just going to give up. No, you cannot. Because if this is what you truly want to do, sometimes it might be the first time, the 1,000th time, the 1,000,000th time, the 10th time. Don't stop. Like, and what made me successful in my sales career is I did not stop. Just because someone's giving you feedback and saying not right now, you take that and you turn it up a notch. You continue to advocate for yourself. You say, okay, where can I continue to sharpen my act so that this person believes in me that I really can be a sales leader?
Yeah.
So that's how my mind frame was. I wasn't defeated at any second of that. It was like, I need to take this feedback. Let me figure out another way to scramble these egg and cheese, because the way I'm doing it is not the way that they're getting buy-in that I should be a leader. I did that. I'm going to tell you the things that I did. I got cool with everybody that I knew was on that panel. I built a brand with them. I built a relationship with them. I talked to them about sales tactics, things I was doing in the district and different things to that nature. My manager worked with me with the feedback that was needed. So when I went back to that second time, which was, by the way, 6 months, I had to wait 6 more months.
Yeah.
Let's make that clear. And I didn't stop anything. I did all the work my manager asked me to do. I did additional work. I showed up. I acted like a manager. So when that role came back up, it was a no-brainer to put me in that role. That's exactly what happened that 6 months down the road. They knew my name. They knew my brand. They didn't have too many questions, and they were like, we're going to hire you. Rhasheeda, you definitely earned this. But again, that was through networking, building my brand, letting them know I want to be a leader. Tell me where I need to show up more. And that's exactly what I did. And when they told me to show up more, it wasn't 10% more, it was 100% more. And that's why I got into leadership. And I didn't wait for them to call me or tell me feedback. I reached out to them. I remember I called him my DM like, hey, you gave me a score of 5. Why did you give me a 5? What do I need to do? And he sat down and told me exactly what I needed to do.
But see, I like that because it sounds like it was a transparent situation. you got feedback, it was maybe a point system, which sounds a lot more fair than a lot of times people are just subjective and they'll be like, oh, she doesn't look like she has executive presence or something really vague like that. It sounds like you got really specific feedback and people supported you. They cheered you on, it sounded like.
I wouldn't say that. I just demanded it. I demanded it. So it's a big difference. No, I don't think everybody, I didn't have the executive presence. I knew that. But I knew that going in. So it was,
But you knew and there were things that you understood. Oh, well, so they want this different. I think sometimes there have been women that are just told no and they don't get feedback. They don't know why. And then a male peer will be promoted and there's just no rhyme or reason. Like, I have no idea. And I'm sure you've probably been in that situation as well. But it's nice when you have a mentor or somebody to say, okay, let's just go back to the drawing board. Let's do it again. So thank goodness for mentors.
Yes, mentors are everything. I advocate and tell anyone, make sure you have 3 to 4 mentors. It really makes a big difference.
Yeah. And how are you navigating now in this time that we're in? What you have an SDR team, right? And do you work with SDRs? Sales development?
Yes.
Sales development reps. Yeah. And so the economy's changed a little, things have slowed down a little. How do you help keep people motivated?
I guess because I worked through the 2008 recession, I'm a little bit more equipped, and also working through COVID. COVID was probably harder than the 2008 recession, to be quite honest. I've taken a lot of the tactics that I learned during COVID to keep the team motivated. And so one thing is being transparent. You got to be transparent, right? And you got to tell the team, look, you're going to hear budget more than anything right now.
Yeah.
You're going to hear the timing is not right more than anything. So you have to think strategically outside the box. So if it's budget, hypothetically, dig in to see, like, when is your next budget change? Okay, so it's not until October 2024. Okay, that's great. What I'm going to do is, Mr. Customer, I'm going to reach out to you in August 2024 to make sure we set up a meeting. Those are some things that you can do. I think salespeople now, we're not going to be able to close our deals right now, but understand that money will flow again. Things will get back uptick. Sales is about building relationships. You got to build relationships first before people say yes. People are going to buy experiences. So if you're just going straight in and asking for the sale, a lot of people are going to say no. And if it's a budget or timing thing, you need to align with that right now during this economic time. And there will be accounts that you can close instantly. Also, grace, giving yourself grace. You're going to hear more no's than yeses right now just during this time. So you have to be a little bit more strategic, a little bit more caring. And sometimes as salespeople, we're sensitive. It's not about you. It's the messaging maybe that company is giving where they can't spend as much money as they have in the past. There's a budget issue, a timing issue. They're restructuring the things they're selling or the things they're doing on a day-to-day basis. Understand that every company is trying to figure out how to save $1 or how to reinvent themselves with spending minimal amount of money. So it's not a you thing. I think sometimes salespeople say, they said no because they didn't like my tone. No, it's truly no because they don't have a budget. They don't have the time. And they're restructuring the whole org or maybe how they're selling the product or service. And they truly just can't do it right now. So that's how I motivate my team with, one, it's not about you. Give yourself grace. Meet your clients where they're at. And lastly, this is where you are supposed to really gain knowledge. What I'm saying is get in YouTube channels, get in courses, enhance yourself, sharpen your act, because this is a time where you need to be learning how to handle this. Because once the economy opens back up, you're gonna be the Jedi. So you got to learn during the downtime so that when the up times come, you can really have all the fruits that you want. And so for my team, we are hitting goal, but I have a company where we have to be real, or we got to lower goals. We've lowered goals. We're giving a lot more grace now with hitting goals, but we're also being strategic too of, okay, why are you not hitting goal? I go over everyone's pipeline. What's happening? Okay, we're hearing no with this company. Okay, also pivoting to figure out where's the money being spent right now? And so for us, we have a sector where money is being spent. So we pivoted our whole demographic of people that clients were pitching to align with the economy. And I think that's where a lot of sales managers are falling short because they're trying to do the same stuff they were doing in COVID. That money is gone, it's dried up, and it's gone. So you have to be strategic and figure out somebody's spending money somewhere. So what sector is that aligns with whatever business I'm selling? And then attack that instead. You can go back to the main sectors later. It's going to come back. That's just going to happen. I don't have the magic wand of when, but it's going to happen. It always does. If you can get through 2008 and COVID, you can get through this little thing.
That's right.
I promise you.
That's what I say too. It's probably great that you're there for them because of that.
Yes. You got to pivot the business, pivot your mind frame. If you do all of that, you will be successful. You'll get through this and everything will be back to normal. It'll be a different world, but you'll be able to make that kind of money.
Yeah, absolutely. So what do you think after being in sales for a while, sales leadership for a while, we're still short on women and people of color? Do you have any ideas or, I don't know, observations on that?
I've been doing this a long time. So I'll say this. When I started, there were no women. And then as I went up, I started seeing women. And it was like, great. Yeah, okay, good. Okay. Then I started seeing people of color. I'm like, awesome, great. So I'll say this. I'm happy with the progression, but it's still not fast enough, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because I started literally at the bottom where we were on dollars and calling through yellow pages. I'm telling my age. So I'm going way back. So part of there. So to just see where June is Prime Month and it's Juneteenth and we're celebrating this. These were not things that were talked about early in my sales career. Yeah. There were no DEI. You couldn't even talk about race at work. Right. That was a taboo. What I don't like about tech is this. There's 1% of Black folks are tech, 3% they say in tech, and only 1% is of color that are in leadership roles. Major problem. Absolutely. Most of the companies that I've worked at, just being transparent, I'm the only one. And that can be disturbing sometimes. I've been through personal situations where I felt like I'm good enough to be at the table, different things of that nature. But what has helped me through that is I got a life coach, I got a therapist, I had a mentor, and I built a tribe to say to myself, yes, I am. I'm more than qualified to be here. I'm better than these people. Actually, I know more than them. I actually was in sales. I started from the bottom. I know what it takes to be great. I know what it takes to build a good team. I've done it. I have a track record of have a high performing sales team. So it's a mind frame thing for people of color and of women. You got to have a strong mind frame if you want to be in sales as a woman or of color. If you don't have that, then it's really not going to be for you because what we have to do as women, and I'll take it back. I lost my job in July of last year, layoffs, of course. Last year was super brutal. I teeter-totter with, okay, I'm just going to go into entrepreneurship. I'm done with this. I don't want to do this anymore. I was just heartbroken with the company I was let go from. And it just happened the way it happened. And I love that company I was with. I love the mission. And I love the CEO. I love everything. I was like, I don't know if I could do this again. Like really, I was like, I can't do this. I can't. And I remember talking to one of my mentees and I was like, you know what? I'm closing the books on sales leadership and I'm walking out the door and I'm walking out on faith and I'm going to go into entrepreneurship. And this is what my mentee told me. He's known me, oh my gosh, probably 10 years. He used to be on my team a long time ago. He told me, he said, Rhasheeda, if you walk away right now, you're going to lose the biggest thing ever in your life. And this is my mentee, way younger than me. He said, you love, eat, sleep sales. He was like, what else are you going to do? And I told him what I was going to do. He was like, that's fine. He was like, but let me tell you what this. I need you in these rooms because you're a woman of color. So you need to speak up for us. But also, too, you're a woman and there are not women in tech sales. So losing you is vital to the tech industry.
Yeah.
So I need you to pick it up and go back out there and find you a role and stay in tech. And when he told me that, I was like, he's right.
Wow.
And that's why I'm here. And so when people ask me what keeps me in tech, is because one, there needs to be African American representation at the tables to make decisions and make sure there's diversity and speaking up for my people, but two, speaking up for women. Because we are still not heard in the tech industry. We have some heavy hitters, but we're still not heard. So I still got to be the loudest person in the room, the most flamboyant person in the room, and come with a different angle of, what about us? Hold on, hear you, but we ain't involved in it. So let me speak up. And so that's why I'm in tech now. My discernment has changed. It's just changed completely where I'm doing it for other people so that they can see you can do this. It's hard. Let me make that clear. But it's not hard now because my tribe behind me, the people behind me who believe in me, and they tell me that every day, you're waking up and making a difference. And I am making a difference. And so that's what keeps me going. And I think it will change. It's just going to take some time.
Yeah.
Rome wasn't built overnight, but I'm loving what I'm seeing so far. I want more diversity. That's the key thing that I want. I want Latino women. I want everybody to be at the table, and it looks like the true world.
Yeah. And to look like our buyers. Who are buyers?
Yes.
We need to match that to our buyers. Yeah, it's music to my ears. I love that. I always feel crushed when a woman leaves sales because we need more women, not less. I'm glad you stayed. And we're here for you. We have your back. So
I love it.
yeah, I appreciate that very much. I appreciate you saying that. Is there any book or podcast or anything that you recommend?
Yes, I'm a huge Grant Cardone fan. I love Grant, one of my favorites for many reasons. If you don't know the guy, you got to just watch him.
He's a little rough, but yeah, not
yeah,
one. That's really,
no.
yeah, obviously read through all his bravado.
Yes, I like the core of it, but he has a 10X program, and he has a wonderful lady by the name of Natalie Dawson, and her podcast is called Building Billions. And so with her podcast, what she talks about is building phenomenal teams, how to build good sales teams. And a lot of the things that she talks about is really good, and I take it to my team. And thinking outside the box, because I remember when the economy shifted, it was like, oh my goodness moment, everything's going down the drain. And she was one of the ones that talk about, you got to pivot who you're marketing to now. Where is the money? Go find the money now, because no one's saying no one's not spending any money. Somebody's spending money somewhere. So you have to find that loophole, but also how to find good talent. It's really hard to find good talent and people who are dedicated. And building strong sales team, that's her specialty, of building very strong sales teams, because you got to have a good sales team in order to hit these quotas, hit these numbers, keep the momentum going, building strong culture, and also moving people up throughout the organization.
That's great. And as of this recording, you're hiring for your team, right?
Yes, I am. I'm very excited. We are currently hiring for a senior SDR. So we are actively looking. If you do have those skills and 1 or 2 years of skills of being an SDR, definitely would love for you to reach out to me via LinkedIn.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's great. I really appreciate having you on, Rhasheeda. This is Rhasheeda Hughes, Sales Development Manager at Power Reviews. And I love your empowering ideas. And I think that you're going to do what you talked about earlier. Somebody's going to be listening and hear you, and they're going to stay in the industry because of that. So thank you so much. See how it goes around, right?
Yes, it's all about paying it forward in leadership, and that's extremely important to me. But super excited to be here today, Lori. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Conversations with Women in Sales. You can find all of our episodes at womensalespros.com/podcast. Help us spread the word and let's change the face of B2B sales.